Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Puddles, and today we're going to talk some more encounter building. Part 8, we're going to be talking about reskinning your creatures or your humanoids and using the NPC section of the book. So, for those of you who have the monster manual, at the end of the book is an NPC section where they have a whole bunch of different things that you can use. And you don't necessarily need to use them on humans. You can have a bugbear spy if you want, or you can have a hobgoblin acolyte. They're there to use, and doing so is it's a really easy way to give your combat encounters more variety. So we're going to use Kenku, little bird people, as an example. So we've got some here, but let me just go to this page first. So, let's imagine you are in your campaign and you want to build an encounter using Kenku. You think they're cool. You've figured a plot hook that they're maybe holding an item, and your players need to go in and get the shinies away from them. Given what is in the monster manual, the only encounter that you can build using this Kenku is just a whole bunch of Kenku. You like 10 Kenku versus your party. We've discussed in previous videos that variety really improves combat. So how can we make this combat more dynamic and interesting if the book only gives us one type of Kenku? And how we do that is with the NPC section. So let me go back to that page that I was on before, and let's just have a look what we've got. So if we have, say we do this encounter just using the Kenku from the book, we have a bunch of Kenku versus our party. All of the Kenku are going to basically do the same thing. Why is this a not ideal encounter? Well, firstly, if you're using the initiative rules from the book, they are all going to go on the same turn. So it's going to be super swingy. If the Kenku roll first, they all get massive damage on your party before they get to do anything. We've talked about this before. And yeah, it can really change how the fight works. There's going to be no variety of enemies, so it's going to be a little dull in that area. They're all going to be doing the same things because there's no variety in enemy abilities. And there's a lack of GM tactic options. If all your creatures can only do one thing, or can only do a couple of things, that's all that they're going to be able to do. Whereas if you have different creatures with different abilities, you have more to play with. So, how do we change this? How do we make it so it's not just a whole bunch of the same thing? And that is where the NPC section comes in. So there's a whole bunch of different low level, high level, in the middle NPCs that you can just reskin or just put into your combat encounter and say that it is a Kenku. So I've got a few here in this second encounter, just as an example to show you how we can do that. So now if you see this combat here, we have our party, and then we have some different looking Kenku. We have our two regular Kenku here, but now we've got this big, tall, lanky Kenku with a big axe. We've got this little tiny live guy he's got shadowy clothes and he looks very sneaky. Then we've got a caster here with a staff and another caster here. So we have 5 different creatures, and all of them have different abilities. And they literally all I've done with these ones is just use the stats from the book. You can totally do that. You can use a veteran Kenku. It doesn't matter that its strength is higher than what your average Kenku is, because not every Kenku is going to be the same. So I'll show you the ones that I've used for this specific situation. So we've got our Kenku Shadowfeather. I also like to rename them. That's my own flavor. I find it more interesting that way. So we've got the Kenku Shadowfeather. It's basically just the spy. The spy is like a low-level rogue, has cunning action, it can disengage, dodge, it can hide, it has sneak attack. It's super fun to put into combats, and it just gives you so many options, much like when you're playing a rogue. And if you just chuck one of those in a combat, it's really going to change up things. Then I've got a Kenku Strongwing, which is this really tall, lanky guy, and he is a berserker. He has reckless attack, like barbarians do. So he gets advantage on an attack, but then everyone gets advantage on him. So he's just this big, tall, lanky guy who just goes in there swinging, and he's basically the tank of the party. Then I have a Druid Scavenger. Sorry, a Kenku Scavenger who is based off of the Druid NPC. So now they have a caster. They have someone who can entangle the party, or can cast, I'm not exactly sure what the Druid has in terms of spells, but they can use their spells or hit the party with their shillelagh staff. The Druid NPC in the book doesn't have shapeshifting, which I think is good. There are some, I think like the Lizard Folk Druid does have shapeshifting, but you know, if you wanted to give the Kenku the ability to shapeshift into a raven or something like that, you could totally do that. Just remember not to change things too much, because it will definitely change the CR rating of your combat. And then last we have a Talonlight. This guy here, he is an acolyte. He's a very low level cleric. He can bless the party. He can, I think he can cast Cure Wounds once or twice, and it just gives this party the healing ability, the support in the backline, and it gives you as a DM more options. You can choose to heal someone who goes down, which is something that would happen. Like if there's a group that has a healer, they're going to heal their fallen comrades, and it will show to the party that they're not the only ones with healing. And they're not the only ones with magic, and not the only ones who can sneak around and use their cunning actions. So it's a very, very useful part of the book, I find. It's really good for putting that variety in the combat. And once you get more familiar with it, you realize how amazing some of the creatures or some of the NPCs that they have in there are. I'm really trying to focus on the monster manual, because I understand not everyone has Volos. But if you have a chance to get Volos, it has a whole bunch of extra NPCs that are amazing. I prefer some of the ones from Volos than the Monster Manual, but if you have the Monster Manual, that's all you need as well. There are plenty of good ones in there. And yeah, I suppose that's everything for this video. I'm going to do a couple more videos on how I reskin certain creatures and how I sort of give them a background to make it logical, like it makes sense, and how I sometimes change some things as well. So the stats for these Kenku would be the exact same as in the NPC section, but you can change them a little bit, and I'll go through that in future videos. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this has been helpful. Thanks again.